I'm gonna fill up my bed truck, right? That is a third of a cord. Okay, I need 15 cords of wood to make it through the winter. 15 full cords of wood. Okay.
Holy crap, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
I know it's a lot. I can only do a third at a time. I go out in his woods. I walk into his woods, verify what I can cut, what I can't cut, blah, blah, blah. Right? Cut it, walk it back out, stack it in my truck. As he has turkeys, as they are scratching and shitting all over my truck. And I would do that like run after run after run after run after run after run after run. And then I cooked my chainsaw. Right? So then I go to the dealership and I said, I need you to fix this chainsaw. And he goes, it'll be a week or two.
This is the Farm Hop Life Podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRosier. On the Farm Hop Life Podcast, we learn what it takes to grow your own food from everyday people. Could be a college student, grows tomatoes and salad greens on their apartment patio, a former VP of marketing for Del Taco now raising cattle in Montana, or someone who hasn't had a homestead in over 10 years. This show is aimed at teaching you what it takes to make homesteading work for you, that we all make mistakes, we all have bad days, but we can reach out and help one another thrive, and giving you the confidence needed to go feed yourself.
So how do you just know Padre through Twitter then? Is that how you guys?
Yeah, that's how I met Joseph. Yep.
Nice. You guys just met up for the first time recently, right?
Yeah. We spoke, I think it was like 2019, 2018. We kind of, we would talk on Twitter, but we weren't like close. You know what I mean? Like we didn't, like is cussing allowed on your podcast?
Whatever you want.
So like I shit post a lot on Twitter, you know, and Joseph is, he tweets about his stuff, you know, and so like I always liked him, but like we never really interacted directly because there was no reason to, right? And then one day he talks about how his son's birthday was forgotten by like all the friends and family and everything, right? And my birthday is actually close to a holiday, and so my birthday is forgotten often. And that I was just like, man, that sucks. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna send you a gift. I'm gonna send you a gift for your kid. What's he like? And so I sent him a gift, and then after that, like we were just off to the races. We talk. I bet you money, like after a few months, like I talked to Joseph probably every day to every third day on the phone.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, me and him got real close. And initially it was mostly just being friendly, like two dads. You know what I mean? Sure. And then like our interests started more like aligning up more together. So I moved to the country. I started doing that type of stuff, and he lived there, so like he had information that I could use, right? And he's a really good man. So it wasn't hard for him to talk, for me to talk to him. And in fact, the first time we talked on the phone, I think it was like 2 to 4 hours that we spoke on the phone. And it was like I'd always known him, right?
Right.
So then after, I don't know, 6-12 months, I was like, it'd be kind of cool if we did a podcast where we just talk to each other, right? Mm-hmm. And so he did my podcast, which was Homegrown Sanctuary, and it evolved a little bit. It was the people who listened to it really liked it, and we'd have like the news. And Joseph does the news. I don't do the news, right? So he would tell me about the world, and I'd comment on it, and
sure.
Then we'd kind of talk about what was going on, like on his farm or like what I was doing around. I'll use the homestead term like very lightly, like what I was doing on the property. And then we did what we called we did a conspiracy theory section, right? Because Joseph loves conspiracies, right? Like he used to dive into them and he'd research, and I know nothing about conspiracies. So he would tell me things and I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? And he would describe it. And I would make these comments, right? And it was really weird because sometimes I would have like input, or like he would tell me something was a conspiracy. I'm like, that's not a conspiracy. Like that's common knowledge. To me, it was like common knowledge or like common sense. And he's like, no, dude, that's legit a conspiracy. I'm like, oh, okay. And so it was a lot of fun. I would like to get back to it. Because it was just such a joy, man. We do, like I said, all of our podcasts were like 2 to 4 hours, all unscripted, all unedited. Just a really good flow. Every time I tried to bring a little bit of structure into it, like Joseph wouldn't do as well because like he likes the free form, which is fine with me.
Yeah.
So and I wasn't too structured, by the way. It was just kind of like, hey man, maybe we could like stay on topic a bit more. So then when we were talking, he would like just stop talking. And I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, I'm trying to stay on topic. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't mean it like that. You know what I mean? So the best thing we ever did was I would say like, just, hey, Joseph, what's the news? And then he would just tell me, he would run through the headlines. Then we just talk about what was going on. And then the conspiracies, we'd have a subject for the conspiracies. And then that was like the most fun, to be honest, because he would just go off and explain stuff. And I actually learned a lot. People disappear by tunnels and national parks all the time.
People disappear in national parks?
See, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, I guess there's like cave
I can
systems.
see that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like there's theories that it's cryptoids, I think is the term. It's like a mythical creature like Bigfoot, I guess they're involved possibly, or
like
anyway,
Bigfoot, skinwalkers, that type of thing.
Yeah, like all the things I don't know anything about. Yep, all those things are involved. So it was good. But yeah, that's how long I've known Joseph and like what we did. And so my point of sharing all that was because it's kind of different meeting somebody from online in person. You know what I mean? Like now, if you talk to somebody long enough, they're going to show you who they are, right?
Yep.
But like
they're at least going to slip up if they're lying to you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it's not the same. And with video chat, it's different because like I can read your face, you can read my face, those types of things. But there's still a vibe you get when you meet somebody for the first time, and you're like, you're either attracted, repelled, or neutral to somebody you see for the first time, right? And so there's always kind of like that. I'm going to use the word nervousness. Like you'll meet each other for like the first time, and all of a sudden, like you're like, oh man, I actually don't click with this dude like I thought I did. Like me and Joseph are the same height. He's known that for years, right? And he's like, I met him, and he goes, dude, I thought you were taller. I'm like, how?
You look taller. That's funny. You look taller.
That's so funny, dude. I'm not. I'm short. I'm 5'7". Yeah.
Funny.
But everybody online thinks I'm like over 6 foot.
Well, that's a good problem to have until you meet them in person, I guess. Like,
well, it doesn't. I mean, I've been this tall for forever. Like, it doesn't faze me. It's like what
right.
I've never had a problem with girls or friends or it's like I didn't even know I was short until I designed myself in a Major League Baseball game, like to my height, right? And so I get on first base, and like this dude next to me, like a first baseman's like up to his shoulder. I go, that guy looks so much taller than me. So then I start walking around in real life, and I start going, everybody's taller than me. Like, I never paid attention.
That's funny. So when you met Joseph, were you just getting into the homestead thing, had been doing it a while, or because he's like a really good mentor since he's been doing this for like 20 years or something, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how long he's been doing it. I know he was able to go full time in 2020 because of like the job situation with the COVID pandemic. I actually moved out into the sticks at the end of 20. I cannot move during summer. It has to be December. So I actually started the spring of 2020 trying to do homesteading, trying to do like a homesteading business. That was my desire when we went out there. Just so all your listeners know, my story is a story of failure, or maybe not failure, but of not doing it, of choosing not to do it. That's the best way to say it. Not
Okay.
failure, but like choosing not to do it.
Well, you just
Yeah.
spoiled it.
I'm
kidding.
so-
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, my bad. I didn't know that was like, I didn't want these people being like, oh, this guy, having this impression, and I'm like, yeah, surprise. But so when I started, I'd never lived in the country, right? So we moved south of the town I live in, and so my commute went from like 10 minutes to like 30 minutes. And I work at a job that's on call, so I can go to work for 10 hours, come home, and then have to go back, right? So that was a thing. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and the gardener, the primary gardener, right? And we only lived there for 3 years in total. And I'm so sorry. What was your original question? I'm sorry. I don't want to go off on a tangent.
No, this is perfect. I just let people go. It's not
okay.
I just let them go. And so I was asking kind of like the start of it all, like the timeline. And then so you said started in like spring 2020.
Yeah, that's when we started. And like I said, we moved in the winter. So even prior, I live in Michigan, so it stays cold for a long time, right? So like I would talk to
Missouri.
No, no, it's the mitten. So I was talking to Joseph often, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm getting my crops ready. I'm like, dude, I'm plowing snow. It was definitely that dynamic.
Yeah.
And we had a greenhouse, a little plastic hoop house, right? And we got it as a gift. A dude wasn't using it. He goes, "Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." So we set it up, and my wife was going to use it to try to keep some of her plants alive during the winter outside. I'm like, babe, this isn't. Do you mind if I talk about the property for a moment?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So my house was was surrounded by cornfields from the south, east, and I had a little wood on the west, and then the north was fields with tree lines. Okay, so the wind was always a factor when we lived there. It was very, very quiet. We were far off the road. We were about an acre off the road. Very long driveway. The front yard was a big yard, like picture like an in-town yard, and the backyard it was a dog kennel that had heat, air conditioning, and water. Then there was a 40 by 40 pole barn on the other side with a one stall garage. Right, it was a pretty sweet setup. I actually had my own utility pole. I did not know that. I found that out when I told the utility to fix my light, and they're like, "I would, but it's your light." I'm like, "Doggone it! I guess it's gonna be dark outside because because I'm not gonna crawl up there." But so we had a lot of wind because in the spring the wind would come from the south, but in the winter it would come from the west. It would come from the west through the trees, right? And the trees weren't big or mature. Somebody had like cut them and then let them grow and did no type of structure or nurturing for the trees. So they were all kind of like dodge or trying to get sunlight. So they were all growing in at these weird angles because the mature trees would block out the sun. And so the little trees would try to get the light. And so they were just, it was like, almost like scrub. Like you ever been like in the Southwest and like you see the scrub, how it's just kind of trying to live, It was like that, but in tree form, and like limbs would fall all the time. Like it was kind of a mess. But my point is it would not block the wind, right? Lots of wind. My wife goes, "Put up this hoop house," or "I'm going to put up the hoop house." That's what she said. And I go, "You should secure that to the fence," because the dog kennel had a chain link fence in it. That was the only fence on the property. She had a Facebook post. She said, "I didn't listen to him." Right. So we have the windstorm. It tears up the hoop house. She goes, Can you put it back up for me?" So now it's a blizzard, right? Because it can't happen when it's sunny. So I put the whole thing back in the yard, and I'm zip tying to the chain link fence, trying to secure it while the wind's blowing. it blows me across the yard into this fence, and I'm just trying to make it. Like, I'm trying to make it till spring, right? So that's when so Joseph was helping me with that, and that's winter was about moving in. Because I had a 40 by 40 pole barn. That pole barn used to be a pig barn. And so there was a trench in the middle of it where they used to just push all the pig poop in. And they put concrete grates over the trench, right? And so when I was moving in, it was cold. So I just took everything out of the U-Haul and just put it in this pole barn. It was just, and it was really convenient because you could just take stuff in when you wanted to, right? And it had a outside wood boiler inside the pole barn.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, the guy told us how to work it, but he made it sound really easy. And so me and my wife both were like, oh, this is going to be easy. You just put the wood in it and then heat will come up, right? And there was a gauge that told you the temperature, and I thought it was for the heat inside the box, right? So whatever temperature the fire was, that was the number being displayed. Saying that out loud, it doesn't really make any sense, but that was the impression I was given by the guy who owned it, so I didn't question it, right? Now, turns out that thermometer is for the water temperature, not for the firebox. So what would happen, what we were doing was we were feeding it just a little bit and the temperature would start to rise. We're like, that's good. We'd walk away and the temperature would come back down because there was never enough heat in the firebox to heat the water, right? And because it has like a glycol system or a water system around the firebox.
Sure.
And so you turn the pump on and then it circulates the water to the furnace. But we were never heating the water, and the water goes under the ground, so it loses temperature as it goes back into the house, and then it comes back outside, loses more temperature, goes back to the firebox, right? Mm-hmm. So one day I just get pissed. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, this thing fucking sucks. I'm just so angry about everything, right? Because all I want to do is go to bed. You know what I mean? Like, it's bedtime. I've been dicking with this thing for 3 days. I just want to go to bed. I'm moving. I'm working. Like, no breaks. Just let me go to bed. So I fill it full of wood. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Shut the door. And then and then I go in the house and I'm just kind of hanging out, right? And then I'm like, it's been about 30 minutes. I'll go check on it. There's a sight glass, which is how you can tell how much water's in it, right? There's a peephole at the top, and it is urinating into the middle of the pole barn. I'm like, oh, well, that means the water's boiling now, and the temperature gauge is now about 20 degrees higher than the guy told us it should be. I said, well, the only way I know to make the temperature go down is take the logs out that I put in. So now I'm shoveling these logs that are on fire into a metal wheelbarrow, and then dumping it into the snow outside, right? So I'm dealing with this monster. And the sight glass is directly over the firebox door. So I'm getting sprayed with steaming water as I'm shoveling the logs out, right? And my wife is inside the house, just living her life, and all of a sudden she hears bang, bang, and those are the flaming logs hitting the concrete. And she looks outside, and there's a fire outside of the pole barn, right? So she comes tearing out. And she's like, Kyle, what's happening? And I'm like, I'm doing something here, because like there's fire. You know what I mean? Like, I'm dealing with fire. Like, leave me alone. There's fire inside the box. There's fire in the wheelbarrow. There's fire outside on the concrete. Like, let me be, right? And she's, she is a curious creature, so she keeps asking me questions and I describe what happens. The logs go down. The fire goes down. The temperature goes down. And I'm like, I figured it out. This is for the water, right? Don't stand in front of it if it gets too hot because it'll spray you in the face. And I guess if it gets too hot, we have to take logs out and put them outside, right? So it was not as simple as what he made it sound in the very beginning. because we had no idea how it actually worked. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have one of those, so I guess I don't know how it works either. But I mean, I'm sure once you do it a few times, you probably have it figured out. But
Oh, well, yeah. And see, the thing is like, okay, so there's certain people, like I was in the military. So there are certain people that they have to tell, like they tell everybody, like, when you throw a grenade, don't watch it to see it explode. And I'm like, well, who would do that, right? I would. It turns out I would do that. So
yeah, I was like, me, obviously, I want to, at least once, I want to watch it explode.
Yeah, so I chucked the grenade. I'm like, cool. I'm just gonna watch it. And the guy next to me is like, duck, and they will tackle you if you don't duck. And I'm like, what? He goes, duck. I'm like, oh, my bad. So I duck, right? No big deal. So with the wood boiler, my wife would throw the wood in and lean back. I throw the wood in and lean forward. I burned my beard, eyelashes, eyebrows, hair. I burned so much facial hair that first year. And it was funny because the box itself was hot. And so I would lean in and I'd hear my hair sizzle.
Oh,
and I'd be like, man, it like it was. Yeah, but like the second year we were in there, it wasn't a big deal. I did a lot of like different things. These are some good tips for everybody. So you
for
can actually buy. What's that?
Tips for grenade throwing.
Yeah, grenade throwing. Yeah, don't throw it like a baseball. So for the wood, you can actually buy these. It's like sawdust that they can press into bricks, and they burn for about 4 hours. That a little less, but they say, whatever. So what you can do is you can start your fire like normal, but if you surround it with these bricks, you got a good burn for 4 hours, and you could set your logs on top. The bricks want to burn. The logs don't really want to burn at first, right? You got to, especially the good ones, because you want them the seasons ones, they burn slow, which is what you want. That's how you get that heat for such a long time. So if you use like pine, which is, some people complain about burning pine, in that wood boiler, I asked the manufacturer, I'm like, what can I put in? He goes, you put dead animals in it, man. It'll burn anything. I'm like, oh, okay. So I would use the wood bricks. I'd use like the softer woods to get the fire started. Then I'd use harder woods to keep it going. So over time, it got a lot easier. And we actually would laugh about how hard we thought it was in the beginning because, you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Yep, exactly.
So that first winter was pretty interesting in those two regards. The greenhouse and the wood boiler and getting everything set up. And do you just want me to keep going about how it went?
Yep.
Okay. If you got a question about anything, just stop me and ask. Okay.
Because I thought the greenhouse and the pole barn wood boiler were related somehow, and so I thought there was something connecting the two, and you were explaining a story about the pole barn and the wood boiler to preface something further about the greenhouse.
I got ADD, so sometimes when
ADHD, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so I'll sometimes I'll switch, and that's why I said like if you want to stop me, feel free because it'll, dog chasing cars.
Yep, I'm with you.
So when we were starting for the spring, we had a couple things to think about, right? One was how are we gonna mow and plow? Well, actually, with the winter too, we were thinking about how we're going to mow, plow, haul things around the property, all these different things, right? Because doing it in a wheelbarrow, if you guys don't live in the country, living in the country is the greatest excuse to buy all of the toys you want. It's awesome. Like I have 3 chainsaws now. I have one special edition Kawasaki brute force with a plow and a tow hitch, because this is what we landed on. Because you can get a lawn tractor, right?
Yep.
To like mow the lawn and maybe plow and some other things. You can get a mini tractor, or you can get, you know what I mean? Like there's all these like really specialized things, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get an ATV, or I'm sorry, it's an ATV, and I'm gonna get a plow for it. I'm gonna get a pull behind mower. So it's actually a mower deck on wheels that you pull behind the 4-wheeler, And I'm like, this is great because the friggin' ATV can go like 70, 90 miles an hour, like legit.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't know
can
they
mow
made mowers for an ATV. That's interesting.
Well, no, it's not for an ATV. The ATV can pull it. So
Right. I'm thinking like a tractor with like a PTO like mower deck.
No, this is like got its own trailer. So it has its own motor. It's got 3 blades. It mows 6 feet wide. You know, it's legit. And so I'm like, man, this is gonna be great. I can pull that at like 30, 40 miles an hour, cut all this grass, you know, because I don't know nothing. Like I grew up as a Navy brat, so I lived in the city, right? And then I can work on houses, which is fine, and I don't mind camping and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm scared of the outside. I just never had to take care of anything outside at all. I never had to take care of a plant. I never had an outside dog, right? I never, my yard was always like 30 minutes of push mowing.
Sure.
So like I have to figure all of this stuff out on the fly. Okay. So like I said, I'm thinking like 20, 30 miles an hour pulling this pull behind mower. And then the plow, I could just, plow that as fast as I could. By the way, that was correct. The beauty of getting a nice beefy ATV with a plow is you may have to do a couple runs, but you can do a 45-mile-an-hour plow.
Gosh, supposed to be driveway is a mile long. You better run it fast.
It was an eighth. That driveway was an eighth of a mile long.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So it was great, man. You just hammer it. But I did live on a busier road, so I had to be careful turning around, and then I just jet up again. It was fantastic. And then we bought a wagon for it so we could haul things around. About the mower part of it, it turns out the mower can't mow very well if it's over 5 miles an hour. So now I have a gigantic racing stallion with like a mule cart,
Yeah.
So if you
running an ATV that slow sucks. Like
yes,
for a long time, like your thumb actually like gets sore because you're like going so slow. It's like it's a dumb problem.
It really was. It was dumb, and because I would put it in low, because if it was in high, you had to like be so precise. But if you put it in low, you could give it a little more. You know what I mean? And then you basically have to mow the lawn like a Zamboni. At the ice skating rinks. Yeah. So that was interesting as well. Like there was basically everything I thought was going to happen worked the exact opposite. It was like my turning radius was huge, and gosh, what? And I bought an American-made mower because I was like, oh, this will be amazing, right?
Yeah.
It was not amazing. They designed it in such a way that it was almost impossible to like put the battery in because it had a rod with a bend at the bottom, so you had to bend, which means it's not secured, right? It's like a floating rod, okay? Yep. And then you had to tighten it with a nut on top. Not a big deal, except for nothing's in a position that wants to stay there. So the battery's floating, the rod's floating, the nut, and you have no room for your fingers. And I'm like, why? Like, why is this a thing? And so that was interesting. But my wife killed a mower out there because the ground was all uneven, and she likes the grass cut low, but I like it cut like medium. And because the ground was uneven, because everything was sitting in the pole barn, in the early spring. I was sitting on a couch having a beer, watching my wife mow the lawn too low to the ground after we talked about it, and you just hear pop, mower just stops, and she goes, "I don't know what happened." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I watched what happened. We all know what happened, So yeah, we had to buy another mower.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, she killed it. She's good, dude. She's we had to buy a rototiller. And what else did we get? And so we ended up that's what we got. We got the ATV. The ATV was our workhorse. And I will say it wasn't good at any one thing, right? but it did the job for all of the things.
Sure.
So that was like, so, and the fun thing about the ATV is you get to ride it when you're not working. And
Yeah.
like I said, it was remarkably fast, and it was sports orange. So I loved the doggone thing, man. It was great. Yeah. So those were the tools, and then hand tools. Obviously, we had like what's it called? It almost looks like a dentist tool. It's like it's kind of like, hold on. The end's like this. It's like it's like a gardener's shovel, a gardener's pick. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like a hoe?
It's like a little baby,
Like a
like
hoe
really
with the point on it?
No. This is more like, it's more like a hoe, but like in an L, and it's made for like hoeing in between like small plants. I don't know what it's called, but
oh, okay, yep.
yeah. So that was actually extremely useful. We had like a trench shovel, one to make like rows. We had like, I don't know, like 6 different types of shovels. You know what I mean? And plus the other guy like left like 3-4 shovels. I had a tanker bar, which is like a gigantic pry bar. Sorry. We had like all these hand tools, right? And we're like, okay, we're set for spring. So what's the first thing you do if you don't know the quality of your soil and you want to do raised beds, the whole 9 yards, right? What would you do if you like that was your idea?
Oh, if you want to do raised beds, don't you have to have like I don't know, like mulch the ground first and then put raised beds on top or something?
Well, we bought dirt.
Okay.
Yeah, that like we bought like 9 yards of dirt. So we had this like hill of dirt in the backyard, and the greenhouse didn't make it through the winter. Right? It got wrecked in another storm, right?
Oh, geez.
So we're like, okay. So we're gonna make these raised beds with some with 2x4s. We're gonna fill them with this topsoil. And I highly encourage anybody, if you need a lot of dirt, like just buy a big hill of it. If you got kids, let them play on it. My kids' fondest memories living out there is just playing on this hill of dirt. And I'm not gonna lie, I played on it too, and it was amazing.
Yeah. When my parents had like their pool put in, obviously all the dirt just sat right next to it. And the summer it was getting built, the neighborhood kids would come over and we'd all play King of the Hill on like this it felt like it was 20 feet tall. I'm sure it was like 10. But I mean, the neighbor kids' parents were like, call my mom, like, why is my kid so dirty after playing at your house?
Yeah.
Like, we've got a dirt pile in the backyard now, and yeah, my kids love, like, all have little dirt piles here, there, everywhere, and they just want to crawl all over it and run trucks on it. And
yeah, it's amazing. It's great. They'd take their bikes up there, ride down the bike, slide down on their butts. It was a lot of fun. And then as the spring went on, we would chip away at the dirt pile, fill up these raised beds, And so we can grow asparagus in our area. So we took up all of the chain link fence from around the kennel, and we made this big asparagus bed. And we planted raspberry bushes. We did our normal vegetables in the raised beds. And then we did like fruit trees in the front yard. And then we fenced it around the fruit trees, right? So we were setting up for like the long haul. My wife wanted like a garden. I was like, yeah, I get wanting a garden. I'm like, but you really want a fruit tree in the first year. Like if you got to pick the one that takes 5 years. Don't pick the one that's going to be done in 3 months, right?
Yep.
So we did that, it was really the first season was really nice. We were expanding so much. We were trying to do so much, right? And Joseph was like, because I was just telling him what I was going to do, right? I go, man, I'm so damn busy. He goes, yeah, you're doing too much. And I'm like, I work a lot, And so when I came home, I was working, but it was like cool work, right? Because it was new and fun and exciting. I'm like, it's not that bad, you know. And I said, I'm like, I'm just not exactly sure what I'm doing with everything, right? And so, like before I got the mower, I push mowed that lawn. It was like a 10-hour day to push mow the lawn. It was wild. So the pull behind mower like cut down. So it was like this weird thing where like everything took all of my time, but like instead of like mowing the lawn for like 12 hours or however long, 10 hours or whatever, I was now mowing for 4 hours, which meant I had 8 hours. And I could use those 8 hours to put over in this new direction, right?
Yeah.
And we needed firewood. So like that was always a thing. It was always like, well, I need firewood. I'm going to cut up this wood, stack this wood, you know? So it was definitely, it felt like you were chasing your tail the whole time, you know? And there were a lot of like beautiful moments in it. I got in a war with some woodchucks. It was actually a whole thing on Twitter because Joseph and I don't know if you know Jeff Putnam.
He sounds familiar. Yep.
Yeah. So I've known those guys before they were like big Twitter accounts, right? So I've known most of like the big Twitter accounts, like in the I guess it's X now, the space that I'm in. They've known me since I was like nobody on I'm still nobody on Twitter, but like when I was like legitimately like only like a few people followed me, and they were all of the guys who ended up like blowing up, right? So
Nice.
these guys would like crack up because I would post pictures of like what I was doing all the time. And this would be like home renovations. Like I was like wiring the garage, and I would just take pictures of what I was doing. And these woodchucks kept eating my food, man. And I was getting real mad about it. And then I started getting real militant about it. I was like, they need to go. And they're
like Bill Murray in Caddyshack.
Yeah. That was the comparison that kept coming up, you know. Now, but I had it was a pellet gun. It was a hunting pellet gun. I don't have a 22. I have a shotgun. I have a couple pistols, and I have a pistol caliber rifle, right? So, and then I had this pellet hunting gun, and the woodchuck's like a smaller animal. I mean, it's a big, small animal, but it's like smaller, right? And so I'm just gonna shoot with the pellet gun. It'll be fine. They'll kill them that way. And everybody was laughing at me because I'd be like low crawling through the grass. You know, I'd have my little kill spots. You know, I'd make like a kill box. I'd bait them. You know, and I'd shoot this guy in the head. Man, he'd lay over, and then he'd stand up, shake it off, and walk away. It made me so mad. And I was talking to Joseph one time because I caught him. Right, I caught him out. I'm very excitable when I am into something. Right, so I see him, I get so geeked, and I'm like, I see him, I'm gonna kill that bastard. And I run and I get my pellet gun, right. And Joseph's in my ear going like, dude, that's not a big enough round to kill him. And I'm like, I can't fucking hear you, you know. And he hit him in the head again. He shakes it off, walks like, I go, son of a gun, man. He goes, Kyle. He's like, I'm sorry you can't kill him, man. And like later, I finally decided to like, you know what a defensive round is?
Is it like for like a shotgun? So it's got like, okay, then no.
No, it's for pistols. So it's I had a hollow point soft fragmentating round.
Okay.
So basically, when the round hits flesh, it expands and it fragments into many pieces, creating a gigantic mess of the target, right?
Yeah, it's more like shrapnel based instead of like, yeah, got it.
Yeah. It like basically becomes shrapnel after it's hit you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got sick of hitting this guy with the pellets, so I grabbed my arsenal, right? like my legit anti-people bullets, and I got him, right. And I've been trying to get this guy for months. He had wrecked so many of my plants, right? And he had kids in my pole barn. And so I had all these woodchucks. Well, I don't know if they were his or not, right? But like there were woodchucks in my pole barn, and they'd come out, and they were kind of stupid because they don't know that we're dangerous or not dangerous or whatever. So they come out and they like run away, and then they come back out again. But and my wife's telling me, by the way, this entire time, you need to kill that guy. He's killing my plants. I married poison ivy, like from Batman. So she loves plants, hates anybody who monkeys with her plants, you know. So I go outside. I see this dude. Woodchucks climb trees, just so we're all clear.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I until I saw this guy in the tree. And I was like, headshot. And I'm like, no, go back to your training. Center mass. So
Nice.
Yeah, I got him. And it was, I'm not going to lie, dude, it was crazy the amount of damage that round did to that thing. And so proud. I was so proud. I had killed the mighty bear. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt. You know? Yeah. Took a picture of it. Not the animal, but I took a picture of, like, the tree because there was a large trail, if you will. And
nice.
I go up. Yeah. I was geeked. I'm like, woo, mighty hunter. Go in the house, you know, show my wife. And she just, I'm like, what happened? Like, why are you crying? I did exactly what you asked of me. And now there's this negative response. I don't understand. She goes, he was a dad. I'm like, he wasn't a dad before I shot him. Now all of a sudden he's a dad. Like, what's happening here? You know? Yeah, that was wild. So I called Joseph actually after that happened. I said, dude, what'd I do? He goes, bro, you don't show her the kill of what you've done. He's like, you just tell her it's gone. I was like, I thought she'd be proud, you know, because my wife grew up more country than I did.
Sure.
You know, and he's
right.
like, no. He's like, no, that's not how that works, man. Like, I guess, you know, whatever. So
that's really funny.
Yeah. So I won the woodchuck wars, but I lost that battle. Definitely. Yeah.
Sure.
So
yeah. Let's roll it back just a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
What got you interested in even trying to homestead at all? However you wanted to mine that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Let's take a pause and say what homesteading is or is not, right? Just for like clarity.
Sure.
It's not 100 some years ago where like the government gives you land and you have to live off of it for what was it, 7 years?
I don't remember.
Whatever the hell it was, you know, and then you get your 40 acres or however much it was. So there is no technical homesteading anymore. You know, there's no wild Native Americans trying to scalp you as you plant your cucumbers in the front yard, you know. And I never meant it that way. There's also the I guess you could say like the YouTube thing where it's like this romanticized, like I do everything on my own. You know, I built the house from scratch. I milk my own cows. That then gives me cheese and butter. Like I on average put in like 100 to 130 hours on a paycheck. So that's not what I would, and I can get, like I said, and I can get called back at any time. So like in my head, I'm like, I'm going to do homesteading in like a, because I didn't use the term, but it was for so people could have like an idea of what I'm doing.
Right.
And for me, that meant. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just was agreeing. Yes.
Yeah. So I used the term just to meant like I was trying to do more for myself and family by myself with my family. That's how I meant it. Right. And the reason I want to do it, first of all, I always thought it would be cool to be a homesteader, like in the 100-year sense, like here's your property and the world's against you, make it happen. It's like, sweet, you know, like that's an awesome thought. Yeah, that's a cool thought, you know. Like I don't own a cowboy hat, but like if I had like the cowboy hat and the boots, and you know, like hell, even my dog. One time we were outside, my dog was sitting in the corner of our yard looking out in the field. I was like, look at him post and watch. You know, like what, you know, I mean, he is because he's a dog, but like there ain't nothing coming. You know, it's just a fun, that part's like fun and kind of romantic. Like I like Westerns and cowboys, and I like, you know what I mean? Like it's like the mountain men stories, you know. So that's all fun and nostalgic. Also, I don't trust hardly anything in our modern society. So there's that component. It's like, okay, well, I have my own water. I have my own power. Well, actually, technically, kind of. Like, you kind of have your own power. Because, like, I had my own utility pole. That's not really what I meant. But, like, you lose power more often in the country. So I actually I had my own generator, right, for power. I'm not saying I produce my own gasoline. Don't get wild with the idea of it. But, like, I was more self-sufficient for a longer period of time than most people. And I liked the idea.
Yep.
And it was nice. Like we made, like when we made tomato sauce for like spaghetti, we got tomato sauce, tomato bisque, and margarita, and a margarita mix out of it. Same batch of tomatoes. It was all from the same process. That was really fun. It was really cool. And it was the best doggone food I'd had.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best tomato bisque. It was the best not margarita, Bloody Mary mix. Yeah, best marinara. Yeah. No, they were all fantastic. And so you have like these, and like the other thing is like the future, right? In 5 years, my asparagus will be ripe. In 5 years, my fruit trees will be producing fruit. In 5 years, I could turn, because like I said, the front yard is really big. I could turn half the front yard into a wild meadow that would encourage monarch butterflies and other native insects to come into my yard and have a good old time and attract the native species. Because I'm surrounded by farmland, keep in mind. I'm like, this place could be a haven for all of the animals around me, not the deer, not the woodchucks, but all the other animals, so that, to come and have a place to like hang out,
Yeah.
We thought about putting a little gazebo out there or like a little pond. Like we had all these like ideas, and we're like, it would be really cool if we could create a space where they're all, kind of safe and comfy. I mean, they can eat each other, but like we don't have to worry about us like spraying pesticides on them or cutting them down with like a mower or whatever. And It would lower the workload for us. So like there was like a lot of these, I would say, dreams of like making our world better, which is actually why I named the project Homegrown Sanctuary, because when I went home, like I love my fam. I absolutely love my wife. I love my kids. I love my dogs. I actually got cats, outside cats, when we lived out there, so they could like eat mice and stuff like that. They were fired, by the way. Do not ever get a cat to eat mice. They are they're either lazy. Yeah, they'll play with it, which I have a theory on that. Don't know if it's true. It's so they can practice killing it over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, probably.
But if they're well fed or if they're fed, it doesn't matter if it gets away.
Sure. You almost got to starve them to make them want it.
Yeah. No. Anyway, so there was that. So like it was just it was a fun idea. It was a fun project. I really like the old timey stuff. I don't really trust the present or the future. So it kind of like fed into like all these concepts, all these ideas. And it was like, if we could create a space in this modern world where we're at peace and we have that we've generated ourselves, it would be a really fun thing to have. And keep in mind, our first year doing this was 2020. So the whole world was going mad.
Yes.
Yep. And like, so everybody's like on lockdown. Everybody's like, in my state, it was I don't remember the fine, but there was a fine for visiting your family on Thanksgiving.
Oh, I forgot about that. That Michigan kind of went stupid. They went stupid pretty hard on a couple of things.
Super hard. And like the governor, like her husband went up to get his boat out of the dock. Like we're all in lockdown. He's like, I just want to go sailing. I don't know if it was sailing. This is not a political analysis of his behavior. But the point is he's a dick.
Might as well.
And he's like, you all stay in your houses. I'm going to go out in the water. It's like, and thank God for the clerk or whoever it was, because they basically said, because he wanted to go to the front of the line to get his boat back out. And the clerk was like, no. I was like, good for you. You know what I mean? Like, good for you. Like, make him just as miserable as the rest of us, So we literally had a little sanctuary, because I bought the kids, because like when my son's birthday party had to be canceled, right? Because everything was locked down. Fauci was throwing the first pitch at a baseball game. I can't tell you how angry I was by that, right? Like angered. I'm like, my son's birthday's canceled, but you can throw the first pitch, you know? So I bought 4-wheelers for the kids. That was like my, yeah, you're right, guys. You can't really go anywhere anymore, but you could drive around in the yard. Like, so my kids like, kind of got their first car at like,
Right.
yeah, at like, what would it be, like 7 or 8 and like 10 or 12, and so they're ripping around the yard, and it was a really good thing. It was a really good thing for us at that time. The weather, I mean, the property had like a lot of, not a lot of shade in a lot of spots. So like it was very sunny, but it also had some woods. So you could like go in the woods and cool off. They actually they used to have a goat house in the woods, right? So when we looked at, yeah, man, it was crazy. It was about 4 feet high. These posts were, and they put like a metal sheet, like a tin sheet on top of it, and just bolted it down. And so like the inside was just, huh?
So just all right.
Yeah, no, yeah, like legit, like it was rednecked up, and there was like just like this hole there, and it was just filled with goat poop and like no grass, like dry dirt because it never saw rain. And so like before we bought the house, we called it the goat poop house. That was the name of the property, for us, was like the goat poop house. So like they had the goat poop house they would go play in. They had like the mounded dirt. They had the 4-wheelers. So my dream of like quote unquote homesteading, which is like being more sustainable, being more separated from society, not like a weird way, but kind of like you guys are being weird and I just want to be normal.
Yeah,
that really was facilitated during that time. During that first year, it worked really well.
very nice. So there's a lot of obvious reasons you wanted to get into it. The time, like your timing of it is very similar to mine. We were building the house in 2019, finished March 2020, and we had like just some really crappy raised beds that we started in 2019 where we were living in the house when it wasn't even completed yet. And just kind of like kept that going the following year. I think we got chickens in 2020 and, little things like that. But sounds like you guys. So what are some other things that you also like added to? Because you had said that Joseph was telling you that you were doing too much. So what other kind of things were you trying to get done that first season?
Oh man. Well, keep in mind okay. So, I have the problem with pattern recognition and knowing history. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my attention was diverted in a lot of ways. So I was still working full time. I never got a break. When everybody else got like 2 weeks off to go do whatever, I did not. I was actually given a pass so I could travel during those tumultuous times, because God forbid I couldn't go to work. Right. I said it tongue in cheek, it was fine. I'm glad I had my job, the whole 9 yards. Right.
Yep.
And then we were doing the property, and I was learning how to care for the property. Right. I was still moving in because I'd only lived there for 4 months, I think. And we burned through all of the firewood so quickly during the winter. So I was like, and prior to like them, okay, not to get into the COVID thing, I promise you, like that's not the point of this, but like when I saw them shut down Italy, I was like, oh, they're going to shut us down too, because I figured America would mimic a European country more than an Asian country, because we're made up predominantly of Europeans, people of European descent, right?
Yep.
Not a lot of math, not a big formula. It just kind of made sense to me, and so I ran with it, right? So then I stockpiled like all these different things because I figured they would shut down the stores like they did in Italy. So I had to buy all these things, and one of them was toilet paper. Did not know that would be the thing that would run out, but I bought, like, I stockpiled all these things, right? And then so those were all of the different sources that were like pulling at my energy, right? As I was like trying to like build this thing up. So it wasn't so much that like I was adding like chickens or goats or whatever. It was that I was moving, I was gardening, I was building infrastructure, because I was telling my wife the entire time, I'm like, we need to build the infrastructure first.
Yeah,
that has to be first. And so that was all of what, and plus it takes a couple years to even know what the issues are in the house you live in.
that's true.
Because like
They're all quirky.
they are, yeah. So like for instance, like we had, I believe, 3 heating sources. One was a propane fireplace, natural gas, and then the wood boiler. The reason we used the wood boiler is because the heat actually felt better.
Sure.
It felt like a more moist heat, right? What else was there? Oh, the mice. There were mice all the time. So many mice.
Gross.
What's
I
that?
hate mice. I said gross. I hate mice. I hate them so much.
They don't, like, I don't like them, but like, what don't I like? I don't like people who smell bad, right? Like, so like if we're like, so like if I see a mouse, I'm like, hey, he's doing his mouse job. You know what I mean? If there's like a smelly person, I'm like, dude, you can take a shower. Like, you have all of the ability to take care of your own hygiene. A mouse is just being a mouse, which is why I had a cat. No, I actually got 3 cats to be a cat and then eat the mice that are being mice. So to me, I was like, I wasn't mad at the mice. I was mad at the cat for not eating the mice. So like the mice would run across the room. I'd be like, yeah, the mouse would run across the room like, are you not going to handle that? And it would lay there, watch it, and go, nah, I'm good. I'm like, oh, man, you're so fired. So then I actually did this whole mouse trap thing that ended up happening. I bought this mouse trap that it has like a pit where you put the bait, and so it would basically try to get into the pit. The trap would close, but the best mouse trap is a 5-gallon bucket with water, and you put peanut butter on the outside. Yeah. Best mouse trap ever, man. I killed, I don't know, like 6, 8, 10 mice a night with that thing, man. But like, you're fighting, for me, I was fighting field mice. I'm surrounded by fields. It's like, what? I'm not going to win that war, like.
So every time I pick up something in the yard, because I don't mow anything here. It's a complete waste of my time. Every time I pick something up in the yard, I'm like, oh, that's an old mouse nest. Like 50-50 shot of a mouse still being in there. And so like my son will go and like look for me, or if I'm moving like an old wood pile.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you spot mice for me or whatever? So I'll go to pick something. He's like, I saw one over there. I'm like, oh, right here? He goes, yep. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. I can see how that could be like a little mouse hole. And so like I pick it up, and like the adult, probably like the mom or whatever, will run off, and he'll go chase it while I, take care of all the babies that are sitting in there nice and warm. It's like, where'd they all go? I don't know.
Mystery. Absolute mystery.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah.
So, a rat terrier was like bred to like constantly seek out rats, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that would work for mice. Like, I work a lot, so like I don't want to do any extra jobs.
Yep.
So that's why I got the cat. So I'm like thinking like, I wonder if like an outside rat terrier would just like find mice, because that's kind of a rat. It's like a baby rat. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I think you just have to quit feeding your cats and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I know. The problem is I got 2 girls. Oh, I got 3 women. I got my wife and 2 daughters, man, and my son. My son's a sweetheart, man. He's a good boy, like a real manly boy, but like he's got a big heart on him. The idea of, because I said, I'm like, we're not going to feed these cats. The protest, You're not going to feed these cats. You're not going to feed the kittens. They're babies, Daddy. They're babies. You're not going to feed babies. It's like,
get a fourth cat or a fifth cat and don't tell anybody. Just don't tell anybody that they're like, where are these cats coming from?
You know what? I wish I had done that. That's actually a fantastic plan. If I had just set the cats outside and then just ignored their existence, like they did not exist, that probably would have worked. I could have probably blamed the neighbors and said, like, oh, it's probably their cat, and just let it roll, see what happened.
Yeah, and so then you either all the now 4 or 5 cats all just get the same amount of food for 3 cats, or somebody picks up on it and then starts giving more food, and then so you need even more cats, and that's how you end up with 10 cats.
I was thinking as you were doing the formula, I was like, I don't know if I think I might start a cat farm at this point.
Yeah, make sure they're all spayed, neutered.
Oh man, but yeah, no, that's what was pulling me in so many different directions. I also had a side gig at the time. I was writing professionally at the time as well. So
really?
There was
nice.
Oh yeah, and I was trying to do my own online business thing. So I was personally running 3 jobs, or I was an employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was an outside contractor, like a 1099 writer, right? And I was trying to run my own business, trying to finish moving in, trying to do the beds and everything else, trying to maintain the property, trying to learn it, trying to get the firewood. Like, it was just, that's what he meant by so much. It was every minute was filled every day, and yeah, it was pretty wild. So like, it was definitely very, very busy, but like there were a lot of moments where like if you could just pause, you would just be like, oh man, that's so pretty, or like or you'd be doing something, like I'd have to like move wood or whatever. Like I would do like this wild stuff, man. I just record it, so like I would like try to yank dead limbs out of the trees with the front winch of the 4-wheeler, like, and people are like, dude, don't do it. I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm just kind of like doing my own thing. And it was just like a lot of fun. One of my buddies on Twitter, he's not on there anymore. He said, you're the manliest man whose screams I've ever heard.
Good.
Because I would do stuff like I would tie like I said, I'd tie like a strap to like this dead branch, which are called widow makers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just hit the gas of the 4-wheeler, and the branch would fall down. And it was like a movie. I was trying to like outrace like the branch. Sometimes
even though it's
I wouldn't
attached to the 4-wheeler. Good.
Yeah. Then the branch would follow me, and I'm recording the whole thing because I think it's funny. A lot of people do things for clickbait, but like I would not sell anything. So like there was really no point to it. I was just kind of like, look what I'm doing, and and so people like enjoyed watching it. And so I'd be running off of this branch on top of me, and everybody have a good laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. I was too busy. I was working too much, but I don't want to make it seem like it was dark and dreary. Right. It was there was a lot of fun. And it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed most of it. Yeah, the first year. The first year was definitely the best year being out there.
So what were a couple of things that you did that like worked and were successful?
The asparagus patch, that was by far the most successful thing. So here's the thing, like when you buy like a lot of seeds or a lot of starts, it's good to have like a warranty on them. I know that sounds kind of strange, but if you plant this crop, and because you're paying for it like quite a bit if you're doing it in bulk, And when I say bulk, I don't mean like there were acres and acres. I had 3 acres of land, so like don't picture, gigantic amounts. But like if you're spending, say, $500 on friggin' berry bushes, you want all of the berry bushes to come in. Like you spent $300 to $500 on berry bushes, so you get something to where you're like you could take a picture or like tell them straight up like, hey, three of the 10 didn't make it. And they'll be like, oh, no problem. Would you like the exact same thing or would you like something different? Or like something of equal value. And then you can like switch them out, So that was important. Fencing was very important for like the fruit trees. Deer are basically gigantic rabbits, man. They're terrible creatures. They just come in and they eat like it's a buffet, look like it's a free buffet, and that it'll just like nobody put any effort into it. They'll take a nibble here and a nibble here, and then they'll poop over there. It's just it's so obnoxious, So fencing was very important to keep them away from my trees. What else was successful? Oh, this is going to sound like a kind of a weird successful thing. When I bought my 4-wheeler, I actually got the guard for underneath of it. So when I wanted to make a new trail, I would simply run into the brush over and over and over until I won.
That skid plate, right?
Yeah, the skid plate. Yeah. And I made so many trails. It was like you could race around in my the woods were like an acre, but like we used to play tag in the woods on the 4-wheelers because nice. It was great because okay, so my son's was like. No, it was my daughter. Sorry. My son's was crap. It was a Chinese one. I don't remember what the brand is, but it was absolute steaming pile of garbage. The chain would never stay on. Pretty sure the frame's broken, whatever, right? My daughter's same brand was amazing. It was pretty quick. It was actually my favorite one to ride. I'm like a 200-pound male. It was my favorite one to ride because it had enough get up to go, but you could turn quickly on it. And you get that sway going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The back end drags a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could I could turn it and I could do a wheelie on the 2 wheels on the side, and I'd do a circle with it. I'd roll it over.
The kids thought that was awesome. Whoa, look what Dad can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then I hear my wife, Kyle, stop doing that. You're gonna teach him how to do bad things. I'm like, this is amazing. The least fun 4-wheeler was actually the brute force because it was so big, it was so heavy, it was so fast, and you needed to go fast to make it. Because that's the thing about driving in general. If you're pushing the vehicle to its limit, whatever that limit is, when you turn, you feel it in the vehicle. The vehicle's saying, "This is what I can do," right? And there's a nice pucker factor that comes in with that. Well, that brute force, I mean. I bet you could turn at 60, 70 miles an hour. Guess what I'm not doing in my woods? No, legit. This thing was so fast. It was so fast. I accidentally, I want to make this word clear, accidentally did a wheelie with me and my son on it. He was sitting in front of me and he goes, all right, let's go. I said, all right, let's go. And I hit the throttle too hard on accident. And we just went whoop, boom. And he goes, I'd like to get off now. But it was no fun because it was too much. It was too much to have fun on. It was great for plowing snow, great for all the things. Not great for racing around in the woods in. So we used the kids.
Right. Yeah. My dad's got 2 jet skis. So I grew up in Minnesota, 10,000 lakes, blah, blah, blah. So we have these 2 jet skis, and the first one that we got, its max speed is 40, 45 miles an hour. And the second one that we got a couple of years later, its max speed is 70 miles an hour, and it's much bigger. And so I've done it once where I go full throttle and I try to turn to do this spray of water. What didn't happen was that I stayed on the jet ski. What happened was it threw me off and I skipped across the water. And it's got one of those tethered keys, and so it shuts off, and then I have to go swim back to it. So I actually like the smaller one better.
Yeah.
Because I can go 40 miles an hour and lean into it and do that spray of water, and you're holding on really tight so you don't just fly off. And even if you do fly off, it's at almost half the speed as the other one, so it's not gonna kick you that hard. So Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like me and my wife were trying. This is before I realized the brute force was no fun, right? I was doing the trails with my wife, and it was me and my wife was behind me, and I like to go fast. I like to turn fast, right? In fact, there was this little part of the property. This was where the brute force was fun. You could hit it, and you could jump the four-wheeler, okay?
Nice.
But you would land really close to the hill that was like to the shoulder of the road. So it was like a high fun, high risk thing, right? So the more fun you had on the jump, the scarier the landing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think like 40, 45 was like when I stopped and I almost went down the hill, and I was like, okay, well, that's because I'm that guy. I'm like, oh, that was fun. Let's see if we can do it a little faster. That was fun. Let's see if we can do it a little fast. And all of a sudden you'll be like in the air going like, this isn't any fun anymore. Like you know before you land, like that was too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like the first time me and my wife were racing around, I took this corner, like, because I made sure that the wood trails had like a lot of curves in it. That way you could kind of get into it. It's no fun going straight, right? And I rolled it. I rolled it immediately. Rolled me and my wife on the four-wheeler. She's, we're on the ground. She's, smacking me. She's like, Kyle, you rolled it. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Whatever, pick it back up and pick her up. And we had some bruises, but it was
I like how you do you picked up the four-wheeler first and then your wife.
Well, it was on her. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it was it was on both of us. But like I pulled my leg out to get it off of her, No, it was being chivalrous by getting it off of her.
You're like, are you okay, baby? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, no, I'm talking to the four-wheeler.
No, that thing was hot. I wanted to get it off my wife. Like it was.
Yeah, I bet. I put my hand on the engine of a dirt bike before. Fast, not good.
That's like the first time I didn't know what that cigarette lighter in the van is. You know, the one that you push in, it sits there.
Oh, yeah, 90s thing.
Yeah. I saw it. I go, oh, that's orange. I wonder what that means. Ow!
Oh, my. Yeah, and then you got that mark on your finger for like a month. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so where did things start getting difficult?
Jeez. Well, bad luck played a factor. Sometimes we go through seasons that are harder than others, just in general.
Sure.
It's nobody's fault. It just is what it is. So I went through that period, and I believe it started in late 2021 or the beginning. Anyway, it was a few year process. The house wasn't bad, but like there were issues with the house. Like for instance, like we always had plumbing issues. So and I have little kids, so like little kids use a lot of toilet paper, right? Yeah. So they changed the code of the housing to where the vent for the toilet can also be the drain for the toilet, right? So the theory is the water can go down and the air can go up, and it shouldn't be an issue. The problem is there's a buildup that happens along the pipe, and it ends up closing the pipe off. And then what happens is the toilet ends up flooding, like you took a big poop in it. You know what I mean? Like that style, Yep. And then it'll sometimes recede, it will sometimes overflow. So I had these, the kids were always having problems in their bathroom with the toilet. I'm like, okay, so I get a plumber in there after a couple times, and finally they took the top toilet seat out and they had to actually drill through the pipe. And the plumber guy was like, well, it wasn't even a plumber, it was the guy, whoever the hell's above the plumber, like a Roto-Rooter type guy, He goes,
also like snaked the pipes to like get it cleaned out, or no?
Not staking. When I say drill, I mean like drill, like like oil, like you're gonna go for oil style.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, like a drill bit, like something to clear the pipe up. Yeah, and so the guy comes down, he goes, hey man, I'm gonna make some noise. I want you to tell me if it sounds bad. And I said, And I said, I'm like, do you mean mechanically bad? Right? Because I'm real blue collar. So like blue collar guys can talk to me in like a way. You know what I mean? That's fine.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I was an electrician for like 5 years. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. So I'm like, you mean like mechanical bad or what type of bad? He goes, mechanical bad. Right? I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting up there and he told me, he goes, it's going to sound bad to begin with. So let me know when it changes to like a bad noise. I'm like, all right. I'm sitting down there and man, all of a sudden it was like a mechanical, like grinding bad, right? Because it was trying to push through all of this toilet paper and poop in the pipe. And I guess it was just clogged up there. I don't know. And I'm like, dude, it's bad. He stops. He goes, all right, I'm gonna try to push through it. I'm like, okay. And he, poof. And it was all good. That was like $900, $700, something like that. And then like 2 weeks later, we would have something else fail, and that was like $500, $1,200. So like this pattern of like things you couldn't predict just like started happening, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, or was that the last year? It kind of blended together. Honestly, like kind of, you know when you would get on a roller coaster, like sometimes you're like, it just starts and you're not sure exactly what happens. You just remember like the turns that sucked the most or like that were the most fun. And then like the ride's over, right?
Yeah.
That was like the last 2 years living there.
Damn.
It like there was a lot of things that just kept coming up that you couldn't predict that were also very expensive. Like I bought a steel chainsaw, right? I went to my buddy's house to cut firewood. I'm cutting this firewood, you know, and by the way, this is like, I think it was called the farmer's chainsaw, something like that. I'm like, I'm kind of farming. Like, that's got to be like the perfect chainsaw, right? I'm not even farming, you know, it's gotta be, right? Based on the name alone, because I'm a good shopper. I overused that chainsaw to the point where like, it was like making a noise. I said, maybe it has to like warm up or something, you know, because it was like making a funny noise. And then I think I was talking to Joseph on the phone, telling him what I was doing that day. And hold on. I take my earphone. I'm like, dude, I gotta go. I shut that thing off, man. I take it to the steel dealership, the local one. I said, dude, it's making this noise. I said, it's been giving me trouble for like a week. Oh, by the way, I took vacation to cut this firewood. I took time off work, like a week, you know, to cut firewood for the winter, right? And
Sounds kind of nice, not gonna lie.
Dude, it fucking sucks. It's not fun. No, dude, it was so, it sounds fun. Okay, so like there's a lot. Okay, so for instance, like this morning,
I'm on all electric heat, by the way, so I don't have to do any of that crap.
Yeah. So okay, let's paint a picture for firewood, right? Because it does sound kind of fun and nostalgic. Like, oh, Kyle took a vacation and then he went in the woods and he cut firewood. Oh, poor Kyle. Oh, I'd love it. First of all, go fuck yourself. Nobody ever says, I'm going to take a vacation, go travel to somebody else's woods and cut wood for his house, okay? If that was a fun activity, you assholes would go do it for fun. Nobody pays to go do that, all right? Second of all, there were things that look fun in the moment that aren't really fun. I was driving to work. There was a dude who was plowing the railroad in a truck, right? He's in a pickup truck. There's a little plow. He's driving down the thing, and he's pushing the stuff. And I'm driving. I go, man, that's an awesome job. I wish I had that job. And then I like, no, I don't. I don't want that job at all. Like you're driving like 15 miles an hour. You can't deviate. You're just going straight down the rails. I'm like, that would be a fun little chore. It'd be a fun little chore. Cutting firewood is a fun little chore. It is not a fun vacation. It is not a fun weekend hobby. It is not because what I would have to do, because my woods weren't mature or big enough to like really harvest, right? And plus the stuff that was down was like mangled together. So it wasn't even like down logs, you know, like where you could just like walk up to the log and you cut it up and then haul it away. It was like in like all of this like new growth. It was just a tangled mess. So I was like, well, this looks awful. So I'll go to my buddy's house, 30 minutes one way. Okay. I'm going to fill up my bed truck, right? That is a third of a cord. Okay. I need 15 cords of wood to make it through the winter. 15 full cords of wood. Okay.
Holy crap. That's a lot.
I know it's a lot. I can only do a third at a time. So I drive out there.
Third of a
I
cord.
then go, huh?
A third of a cord.
Yeah,
At a time.
that's what fits in the bed of a truck, approximately.
Wow. All right.
So I go out in his woods, I walk into his woods, verify what I can cut, what I can't cut, blah blah blah. Right? Cut it, walk it back out, stack it in my truck. As he has turkeys, as they are scratching and shitting all over my truck, right? And I'm like, which doesn't bother me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the truck guy who keeps his truck nice. I'm the truck guy who runs it until it dies. Like legitimately gives up the ghost. And I'm like, sorry to see you to go, boo. And then I buy another one and do the exact same thing. That's the kind of truck I am. So, but like, there's that. And I would do that like run after run after run after run after run after run after run. And then I cooked my chainsaw. Right? So then I go to the dealership and I said, I need you to fix this chainsaw. And he goes, it'll be a week or two. Well, I'm on vacation for a week. I'm like, I guess I need another chainsaw. So then I bought a $900 chainsaw because that was it turns out the one I bought, the mid-range one, was for cutting up wood in your front yard in the fall. The ambient temperatures were cool, the workload is low, and you're going to take lots of breaks. So I had to buy the professional grade chainsaw because I was cutting wood up.
Oh,
yeah. So now I'm out $1,000, still not having any fun. Drive back, and my buddy's showing his house. Actually, in this situation, my buddy's showing his house to sell it, right? So he gave me like free rein. He goes, cut it whatever you want to. I don't give a shit. You just can't be here when somebody goes to look at it to buy it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm cutting everything I can cut up, and he goes, I don't think it matters anymore. He goes, you can use my trailer. I said, okay. My buddy's Native American, right? And I drive it for like, I don't know, a few days. And I come back and I go, hey, man, I noticed there's not a license plate on the trailer. I'm pretty sure trailers are supposed to be licensed. And he goes, yeah, the white man took my land. I'm not paying him for a license plate. I said, okay, fair enough, because I don't care. Like I'm
right.
Yeah, I'm the guy who's like, you can believe almost anything and it does not faze me. I do not give a shit. Whatever. Like, I mean, from extreme right to extreme left. I personally am like JFK. That's the only politician I've ever listened to that I thought, that makes sense. That is a reasonable position, So that's me. I think you should both care about the working class and try to have a prosperous country. You should have a strong military and not kill other people. Like that's kind of where I sit on everything, right? So anyway, and he's kind of like more of a libertarian, like live and let live. I shouldn't have to interact with the government, which once again does not faze me at all. So I'm like, well, what do I do if I get pulled over by the cops with this trailer that's not mine with no license plate? He goes, tell him I'm selling it to you. I'm like, are you selling it to me? He goes, no. I'm like, so I don't understand what you want me to do, bro. Are you telling me to drive an unlicensed trailer and then lie to the police if I get pulled over? He goes, yeah, if you want to see it that way, yeah, you can do that. He goes, if you don't want to, and I was like, I'm like, all right. And he goes, if you don't want to do it, just don't use the trailer. I said, all right. And so I start weighing the options in my head, right? I'm like, it saves me like 3 hours, using this trailer, So I was like, I guess, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So that happens. What else? So, yeah. So you load up the trailer and then, you load up all the wood, right? Then you have to unload it. Then you have to stack it. Now, because the boiler is in the pole barn, I actually stacked the wood in the pole barn.
Okay.
Because that way it was easier to feed. And I could gauge how much wood I had throughout the winter. So it was this whole process. I would actually stack it about 6 to 8 feet high because that was like a safe height to like pull it off from the top. Because this is the other thing. I won't give you many pro tips, but I will tell you like the ones like I remember, right? You don't want wood falling on you. That's a good pro tip, right? So make sure.
A good pro tip.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you can always handle it and that you can stabilize the stack as you're pulling them off, right? So don't go on your tippy toes. Don't have your arm fully extended. Make sure that. So what I like to do actually is I like to stack all of my wood like you see in the nice like Hallmark movies where like they're nice and long and all faces. But on the edge where there's no wall, I stack them the other way, so they just don't roll out, right?
Yep.
And then on the other side was the wall, the pole one. So that was the whole thing. Like firewood took up legitimately. I bet you I spent 10 to 20 hours doing firewood a week.
Wow.
Well, because I had to source it, right? I had to source it, and nobody would call me back, dude. I'm trying to give people money to give me dead logs. Like it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd
to get a corner of wood dropped off at your house or something.
No, and nobody would do it. Like nobody would do it. They're like the weight laws. The cops are going to pull me over because of weight. Oh yeah. Like in your area, the cops will pull me over. I don't want to deal with that.
Weird.
Yeah, and like I had other guys. Like I'm like, hey, one guy like he did deliver wood like in a dump trailer, right? I'm like, hey, can you come deliver me wood? He goes, I would, but I'm in Alaska like doing like a fishing. Like he's on like one of those things where you go catch fish in the ocean or crabs or whatever they do up there. I don't care. And so he's like, I'll call you when I get back. Yeah, he never did. So like I had like these flaky contractors, and then I had these contractors who weren't flaky, but they're like, I won't deliver it so you can come get it. So then I would have to drive like 30, 40 minutes one way for a third of a cord. And I had to pay them per load, right? So you're talking, so 20 hours a week sounds crazy, but if I'm spending 2 hours, say 2 hours on a load, and I'm doing that once a day, right? You're talking, what was that, 10, 15 hours right there?
Yeah.
Say on Saturday, I do 2-3 loads. Now I'm at 20. And I'm not really making a dent in what I need, right?
Right.
It was wild. It was absolutely wild. So that was a really frustrating thing. And propane prices started going up, So I was spending all this money to get this firewood while and my wife's like, oh, you don't have to do it. We can do propane. But the propane just spiked, right? And I was buying it once a year. So it'd be like $600-900, but I just spent $1,000 on the chainsaw. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh dude, it was just like, it was so many like things like that, it really felt like I just couldn't. It started to feel like I wasn't going to win. Like I would do one thing and I'd be like, oh, that was a good thing. And then boom, this other thing would just break. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good, And the fun went away is what happened. It really went from like, this will be in it. Because here's the thing. Like I wanted like chickens and goats and like I wanted a milking cow. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's like, oh, that's going to be crazy. You're gonna have to milk it twice a day. I'm like, who cares? It's like 15 minutes twice a day. What do you care? You go out there, you yank on its udders, you put it in a bucket. There you go. You're all done. Right. She's like, I don't want that stuff. I'm like, I get it. I'm like, well, how about goats? She goes, I don't want goats. I'm like, I mean, we talked about all these things prior, right? Now we don't want them. She goes, we're way too busy. I'm like, we are way too busy. But like, I don't know why I would want to stay here if all I'm doing is going to work and then going back to work, because at the time I was very busy, and then finding time to write, and then trying to because I was doing a podcast at the time and I was trying to create this material, and I really didn't have time for it. To be honest, what I should have done in hindsight is I should have let stuff go, right? But I was so stubborn, and I was always working, and you ever work so hard you're not really noticing things that anybody else could have noticed.
Say that again. You work so hard that you're noticing things that nobody else could have noticed, or you're not noticing things.
No, you don't notice things that anyone else would have noticed.
Okay, so it's kind of like your job to notice these things, but you missed it, and so did everyone else.
No. What I mean is I was working so hard, right? And I was so focused on that I could not see that my biggest problem was that I was always working.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Because I wouldn't even take a break to relax. So what I would do when I was off is I would basically just drink beer while I continued to work, right?
Yep.
And I have a lot of really hardworking friends. And then that year, not all together by any means, there was no intervention, but like some of them would say like something like, I wouldn't want your life. Or they would say like, I would walk off the job if I was you. Or you work too much. Like they would, and that was it. It wasn't a critique. They weren't telling me I was wrong. They weren't telling me I was misbehaving. Like there was nothing like that.
Sure.
They were just simply like they're like, you're like, what you're doing sounds miserable to me, in a very kind way.
Right.
Right. And they were right, to be very honest. They were completely right. It was way too much for one person to do. And I was trying to do it all. And to be honest, like my background kind of helps with this. Like in the military, like you don't really say like, well, I'm tired now. You know, like I haven't gotten my 8 hours of sleep in a while. You know, it's like, no, you have a job. You're doing your job. This is how you provide for your family. Shut up, finish what you're doing, and then you can take a break when the work's over. The problem was there was no break. There was no end to the work. So it was just like 2 years of just doing it. And like, dude, I never gardened when I was out there. Like I may have spent like like maybe 1 or 2 afternoons pulling weeds. That's all I did. I rewired the garage. I insulated the garage. I hauled firewood. I moved stuff in. I mowed the lawn. I built a the throwing axes, the throwing hatchets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I built a big old bullseye in my backyard to throw hatchets at, right? And
Nice.
it was legit. Here's the thing. It matters which way the wood grain is.
Oh, I assumed you were using a big cookie, but you're talking about just using dimensional lumber. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And I put the grain the wrong way.
Okay, so which way did you put it? Which way is it supposed to go?
Okay, so I put it horizontally, right?
Okay.
And so what happens is when the hatchet hits the horizontal grains, it says, nope, and it throws it back at you.
Whoops.
Yeah, but if you do it the other way, where the grains are like the right way, it would sink into the wood, right?
That makes
sense. It was tons of fun, like building it. Like it was, I did it all out of like heavy lumber because I'm like this thing will last forever. And then I finish it, I throw it, it bounces back at my face. I'm like, are you friggin' serious? I'm like, and I record it. And I'm like boom, and I'm like, why? And everybody's like, the grain's the wrong way. It was so much because I had already painted it, dude. I had already painted it and everything. So I would have had to like take this gigantic rectangle of different boards and then just rotate it,
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's gonna be such a nightmare. Fuck that. And I just left it. I was like, I was like, I'll shoot it with a gun. I don't give a shit anymore. Like
There you go.
So it was just like, so even like I said, even though I was very busy, I still made stuff for that, but even that stuff was like, no, that still didn't work. And it was like, why? Like, why?
Yep.
So that was happening. The economy changed a lot too. And so starting in 2020, late 2021 or early 2022, I think early 2022, the economy really changed for us personally.
Sure.
I had some things like happen at work that were not beneficial to myself or my family. And so like my wife went back to work, right? And so now my wife's working, and now her load just went up by 8 hours. Like, and now, so like the second year it was okay because like my wife was like doing plant stuff, selling plant stuff, doing the gardening stuff that was still happening. So when when that stopped and she went back to work, now all of a sudden, not only did we have kids, dog, cats, now we had plants to take care of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both house plants and vegetable plants. And all of a sudden it's like there's like no time anymore for fun. And things are still going wrong all the time. But there's like less money to handle it with, right? And like now it's year 3. I never got a single chicken. I didn't build a coop. I had a goat house in a woods that was like partially fenced. Never got a goat. No, I knew the milking cow was like asking for the moon. I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping if I tried to sell her on milking cow, I could end up with like funny goat, like fainting goat, because a fainting goat sounds amazing. Like I would just walk up and it would just fall over. I'm like, that would be an amazing aspect of my life, right? But like we didn't have any of that stuff, and now it was like, okay, so we have, because I wanted the animals. Like I love like creatures and people, and my wife loves plants, so like we did the plant thing. Oh shit, I got to tell you about the hoop houses. I'm so sorry. Let me back up a real quick thing. So the first hoop house definitely died the first winter, okay? And then my wife and I, my wife was like, I want to do it again, but we're going to go bigger, better, stronger. I said, amazing. Let's do that stuff, right? And so we bought these 2 big ones. They were about about $250 each. They were very big, and it was a metal frame with like a plastic layer, and it had zippers at each end, right? And do you know what an auger is?
Yep.
Okay, so we augered them into the ground, right?
Okay.
And then we did rocks all on the edges of all of the plastic that was not on the walls, the ceiling stuff. So it's way down by rocks. It's augered to the ground, and it's tent staked to the ground. Okay. Inside we have these raised beds, right? Windstorm came in, killed all of them. Actually picked them, like blew one into the other, and then as it flew up into the air, they had tent sex, and then landed right where the old pole barn was when it got wrecked. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That wind will wreck a lot of things. There's I visited a Twitter friend a couple months ago up in northern Montana, and the wind got so strong. They have a metal frame greenhouse, and like square tubing doors. I think it's aluminum. The wind was so strong, the hinges pulled themselves apart and the doors came off.
I do not doubt it. I don't, because these things were so matte. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I put them so the wind would hit the small side, and they were in line, so
like go over.
No, it wouldn't go over the broad side. It would go over the door, and so like it was the narrowest part, and I had them in line, so the second one wouldn't even get the gust like the first one did.
Yep.
It didn't matter.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It was just a lot of that, I totally get why most of the homesteaders didn't make it. Like legit, sure. like not even trying to be silly or like dramatic. Because like let's be quite honest. If my tomatoes failed, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. If my asparagus all got burnt, it doesn't matter, right? We're trying to do this to like improve our lives, right? And as we're doing it, we're sitting there going like, this is objectively worse. Like it was just like we tried to do too much, and like there was, like I said, it was not the homesteading lifestyle that made us tired, right? We really liked that part. It was, everything kept going wrong for so long. It basically became like the idea of like a sunk cost, where you're like trying to like, I've already invested so much.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Like me and the Me and the kids, like we were just like, I just look at the kids. I said, because they were like, we don't play anymore. I said, I know. I'm like, I like to play. I want to play. I'm like, I can't remember the last time I got to play. And we were all like, we want to play. I'm like, yes, let's all play. Yes, let's sell this house and go back to town and play. Like, that sounds amazing, right?
Is that what it took?
For
that moment with your kids?
Yeah, well, I already had that feeling because I was starting to get really angry, like me personally. Because, dude, I don't know if you've ever like lived a segment of your life where, like, well, first of all, there's a segment of your life where everything you does turns to gold, and all of a sudden, like, you're Superman, right? You're like, I could do nothing wrong. You know, I got a beautiful wife, I got amazing kids, and I am doing fantastic. And then the winds turn, and all of a sudden, you're like, dude, I got this wife, I got these kids, everything I do turns to shit. You know, it's just like it's like the polar opposite. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I was like, you know, for me, like, I didn't want out of the property, but I wanted out of the chores because like it just went from work, chores, and then I had my side stuff. Don't forget that work. Then I had my personal thing that I was trying to build, work. And then I had sleep. And then it was just, again, it was 7 days a week of that. And it was just too much, man. It was just too much. And it wasn't my employer's fault. It wasn't my, like, the other company I was working for independently. It was not their fault. It wasn't even like my stuff. It was like, it wasn't the garden. It wasn't any one thing. It was just way too much. It was just way too much that I was doing. And, and honestly, dude, I lost the fun. It just wasn't fun anymore. I had more, like, think about this conversation, right? I had more fun trying to kill that chipmunk, or not the chipmunk, the woodchuck, right? That was wrecking my garden than I did trying to do anything the second year. And that guy pissed me off. He pissed me off for like all summer and fall. Like, it was like the fall when I finally got him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's definitely like, and what was missing was like, it sounds kind of like people who are like anti-hunting or whatever. Like, I get it, like, whatever. That's fine. I'm not saying hunting's like objectively good or bad, you know, whatever. But like me, like low crawling and trying to like create a kill box and like using the raised beds to like hide behind so I can get a good vantage point for when he come out of the brush, you know, like that was a lot of fun. What wasn't fun, what wasn't fun was like having my chainsaw heat up and then go dropping another $1,000 on another chainsaw. And the reason I would have rather bought firewood that year, but nobody would sell me firewood. So it was just like these, it just totally flipped on its head, man. You know?
Do you think you would ever go back, not to that specific property, but like a different, maybe even just raw land and try again?
Oh yeah, 100%. Here's the thing that I learned. First of all, I would not try to I wouldn't monetize any of it. Like, personally, at first, whatever. I wouldn't podcast it. I wouldn't blog about it. I may shit post on Twitter about it, like, as a fun thing for my friends. Like, I consider my followers like my friends. I may do that, but I wouldn't do anything more than that. I wouldn't do consultations. I wouldn't say, call me for advice. By the way, I never did that at the time I did it. I'm just saying I was trying to like document what I was doing. And after pulling, 16, 18 hours every day, like, that's a lot to ask for somebody. You know what I mean? So I would just free myself from any type of like obligation to do anything else other than to exist and enjoy my property. I would also do it after my kids were grown. And I'm not saying that anybody else should do it this way. I'm just saying me personally, like my youngest is now 6, right? So like even now, because she was 3 at the time, which is 3 and 6 is like a lot different. And my kids are great. They were never a pain in the butt when we were there by any means. They were great kids. But like taking care of children and then running to school for like school events and stuff like that, it takes time. So like, because I actually do want to move back into the country and I do want to try it all again. Well, not all of it, but like the self-sustaining part again. And I'm actually really excited about that concept. But what I would not do is I would not try to do everything at once. What I would probably, if I was to do it all again, what I would do is I would say, do I have the equipment I need for how I need to take care of the property? I would buy the equipment the first year, and then I thought I needed, and then I would use it the first year and move in. End of what I might plant fruit trees. I might, and I want to emphasize the word might. I might, but I would probably see where the sun was, how the wind was, how cold does it actually get in your yard. I would see what animals like to mess up your plants. That's what I would do. I would just watch the whole thing and say, this is good, this is bad. Didn't realize that would be a problem. Didn't realize that would be a blessing. And I would just kind of watch the whole thing, see how it goes, just move in and just kind of just observe and enjoy. The second year,
slower, yeah.
Oh no, and I mean like remarkably slower. Next year, I would do like trees and berry bushes, and that's all I do. I would fence them. I would plan out where I wanted them. I would actually ask for professional help on where to lay them out, because that actually matters. Because you need to make sure that they can mate with each other and they have the right sunlight and everything else like that. So I would get all the data I would need. And then I would make sure that they were all in the right positions. And then I would like looking at that tree when it was matured at that place, right? And then I would do the same thing with the bushes. I would fence them all in. And then I would make sure that nothing ate them. That would be my second year. And then
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working through a plan for my property right now.
Yeah, that's and like I said, did I say infrastructure for the first year? Or did I just say just watch?
You said just watch.
I would say this. If I notice something like at the first country house, my driveway, like for instance, like when you left the driveway to the road, the main road, the rain would wash out the very end. And so you basically would have like a pothole to like leave. If I saw something major like that, I would fix it immediately. I'd be like, oh, well, that's going to suck forever. So then I would fix that. That would be like the first year, like observing and then fixing things that I have no desire to live with, and then like the third year, I would start doing like the raised bed, the gardening. I would definitely never buy I would actually build my own greenhouse with glass friggin' everything with wood frames. I would not buy anything plastic or tubey or nothing. What is it? Dude, I bet you I spent like $700 on like 3 of them, like making them all, and none of them worked. I would definitely, so, and here's some things I would look at the next property. I would make sure there was a windbreak. For me, that's a must going forward. There would be a windbreak. I would see where the direction of the wind goes through the spring. I'm so sorry, through the warm months and the cold months. I would make sure definitely that the windbreak was on the cold weather side. Now, that doesn't mean you can ignore the other sides, because like primarily, like mine was my cold wind came from the west primarily, but I tell you what, when that wind came from the east, it sucked just as bad. But I was surprised it was coming from the east. So I would try to make sure that I had the property boxed in by pines. Now, I'm not a big fan of pines, but like I would try to make sure that there was a windbreak. Like, so I would make sure that there was a windbreak. I would make sure that there was, theoretically, I would like some waterfront properties, kind of not I don't need a picture like a lake or whatever, but like something that was like had a pond or
water feature.
Yeah, like I would
creek, anything.
Yeah, anything. I would like that. It's not a necessity. The windbreak, because before I moved out there, I was like the water was like, oh man, I wish I had water. When I left, I said, why didn't I get a windbreak? Like that was like the thing. So like there are definitely things that I would do different going forward. But I really do want to do it again. But I want to do it when my children are gone. Not because, like I said, not because I don't love them, not because they were a burden. They weren't. But when I go to do it, I want to be able to just have that be my hobby. So it's not stressful. I I don't have to have the firewood. I don't have like this urge of like the dad, like I have to provide, I have to provide, I have to provide.
Mm-hmm.
It could be like, yeah, what do I care? It's just me and the wife.
Yeah, it does take a lot off your plate. I can see that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in, like my kids are starting to get older. Like my oldest can now watch my other two. And the difference in the drive of like, I have to be very productive because my children need me at any moment. Like when you switch to like, oh, I did a good job raising my eldest and now she can help me as I work on my own thing. Everything slows down. Mm-hmm. And the older I get, I used to like fast-paced stuff, man. I used to like let's go, let's get the work done. As I'm almost 40 now. Like it's like it's like I'm not saying like putz around, but like is it that important really? Like let's make sure it's safe, which also like I would never pull branches down behind me anymore. Like it's like it hasn't even been that long, but like there's like changes that happen for me anyway. Like in my 30s, the changes are happening to where I feel myself becoming more conservative, becoming more slow, not in like a lazy way, but more in like is this the best decision way, Mm-hmm. And I actually feel like that time on the property really shaped that. You know what I mean? So yes, I would definitely do it again. I would make sure that certain features were in place that guaranteed my life would be better before I moved in. Because here's the thing that we didn't really think about until after we first slammed, is that even if I could, because I actually had a plan to clear cut some of these woods and plant like pines to create a windbreak, I'd be dead before they were grown. It's like, how the hell does that help me?
Yeah. The pines usually don't grow that fast. It depends on the type of pine, but yeah. 20 years for sure.
And here's the other thing that I would definitely, in case anybody else is wondering about windbreaks, because like I said, I lived in a windy spot, so I thought a lot about it. You can actually buy trees that are more mature. I would highly encourage you to consider buying the oldest trees you can, because dollar for age, it's worth it. Dude, how much would you spend to save a year?
I don't know. Depends.
Well, yeah. No, I know, but like say you needed a tree to like block the wind, right? Like, would you rather spend? Let's just say, would you rather spend like 100?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm really trying to learn how to be patient, and I also am trying to, get the most bang for my buck, and so. It's whether I live here or, because I like the area, 20 miles that way or whatever way, it's going to be windy over there too. So might as well just wait it out.
So what I'm saying is the biggest bang for your buck is getting the most mature tree.
That's true.
Because you're getting exactly what you want at the best stage you can. Because it's like primed to live, right? And so you put it in there, you've already cut off like 10 years off of your patience plan. Now you've only got another 10 to go. That's plenty of patience for anybody.
I guess I didn't even look at how much mature trees were going to cost me. So
they're more than saplings. Like you could buy a sapling for like $1 or whatever.
Yeah, I can see the height chart, but it's always like, usually they stop at like 6 feet because they don't want to ship trees that are longer than that. I guess I could go to a local nursery and check it out, but I didn't.
Obviously, like who cares? Who cares about old trees? You know what I mean? Yeah. But no, that's one thing. Like 100%, I would buy the oldest possible tree to have planted. If I had the money, I would plant full-grown, like Jurassic Park trees to make the wind break. I'm not even joking. Like because every day, like multiple times a day, I would walk outside and it was just biting cold. And I'm like, man, I hate being here. And it was because of the wind. Every time it was because of the wind. Yeah. And
I tried to plant giant sequoias here once.
You did?
Yeah.
How'd
bought
that
them. It didn't. I bought like 6-inch saplings, and I kind of messed it up. I didn't like fan out the roots, and so it's still in a root ball. Plus, I'm like, they really need to be in like zone 6. I'm in zone 5, and they really love water, and it's arid here, and so it wouldn't have worked anyways. But the thing that killed it the first was I think it was still in like a root ball, and so I was like, well, yeah, that sucks. That would have been.
But you say
in 100 years, that would have been really funny.
Yeah. Okay, so
where did this giant sequoia come from? This isn't even shouldn't even be here. Not even close.
We were looking at properties in the country, and there was a yard I saw with cactus in it. Michigan, legit cactus.
We've got cactus here too in Montana. Yeah, it's on my property, and it flowers. It's pretty.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't seen cactus since I was in Texas. I was like, what are you doing here, little buddy?
Yeah, I almost forgot what it was like to step on you with my bare feet. The only thing we're missing is the fire ants.
Mike, oh my gosh, I hate those things. Have you ever talked to Joseph about like all of the things that he experiences down there with like the flying fire ants and all that stuff?
Not the flying fire ants specifically. I went to his place last month and was there for about 2 hours, and like he showed me around. We were just chatting. Yeah, it was a good time, but I'm sure he's mentioned. It seems like it's always something. It's never nothing. There's always something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm gonna screw it up, man. But he basically, how's he do it? He like baits because they swarm, which also sounds awful. Everything he says sounds awful to me, right? So he basically makes like he does like a burn barrel or like a campfire, and I guess they're attracted to the light, so like they'll swarm into the fire. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds pretty metal, and I'm here for it. But also the idea that you have a swarm of something that's called a fire ant kind of stuff. I've gotten bit by them. It's not fun. So like the idea of like tons of them like flying to you. Right. I'm like, why would you live? He says a lot of things, and I'm like, why would you live there? Right. But they're like all individual events. And then we'll talk, and I'll be like, yeah, it's going to be cold for like the next 6 months. And he goes, why would you live there? And I'm like, I don't know. But as soon as it gets warm, we switch again, right? As soon as it's warm here, it's like it's in my head, it's absolute shit there. Like it's just like they got all the dinosaurs coming out of the swamps and the friggin' bugs coming out of wherever they come from. The cargo ships and tornadoes and
I don't want to live in a place that gets hurricanes. No, thank you.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, if I could trade 6 months of winter for a hurricane, because that's like 3 days. Like, I'd take it. Like, it's got to be better. Like, it's got to be better than like 6 months of gray, because that's what I have. I have 6 months of like gray and dreary.
I like it.
I do not. I like, because do you still live in Minnesota or no?
No, I live in Montana.
Okay. So when I was traveling for work, I went to Minnesota, and it was sunny there, right? So same temperatures, right? Because I thought I hated the cold. That's not what I hate, because it was still cold, but the sun was out. So I got off the plane. I'm like, oh, the sun. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy now, And like legit, I would go to Minnesota. I'd be very happy. I'd get back on the plane, land in Michigan. I'd be like, so sad. And then it was crazy. Like my temperament's like based off the friggin' weather.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. We get this thing called inversion here. We never had it in Minnesota, but that would keep the sky, like you wouldn't see the sun for like 60 days or something like that.
Yes, that's too much.
Yeah.
Is there a way you could pause record?
I was gonna say we should wrap it up because I gotta get to bed.
Okay, I have to pee. So I was like,
Can we wrap it up really quick?
Yeah, no, that's great. I had a great time talking to you. I'm just doing the potty dance. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So, let's. Where can people find you and like learn about what you're doing now and look back at your old YouTube videos?
Oh man, okay, so I have a Substack called Blue Collared White Pages. I write about doing fatherhood stuff, right? So that's what I'm focusing on. My Twitter handle, X handle, is the @, and then like 3 underscores, then KIEL, and then 3 more underscores. So it's just my name. I tweet about being a dad mostly when it's not shit posting. I am trying to like not shit post and just like do stuff about fatherhood. What I've learned through this entire process is that what I'm actually really good at, and I could talk on very well, is how to be a good dad. That is the one thing, like, I spent years. I read tons of books. I studied my children. I studied myself. And like, I tried really hard to be the best dad. And in this world, I noticed that like a lot of dads were failing. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to be that dad. Like, I want to be like the best dad. I don't want my kids to say I have dad issues. So like, that's what I did I'm still doing it. It's not like I ever like quote unquote graduated or whatever. But like, what I noticed recently is that people will show stuff or they'll ask a question and then I can answer it without looking anything up. I've just done it for a while, being a dad. So I'll answer the question, and it's actually a thorough answer. This is very new for me, just so we're all clear. It's a thorough answer with lots of info. There's no like fluff in it. And nobody's ever said, you forgot this aspect. So I'm kind of leaning into that. It's the first thing that I've really been tweeting about that I'm like, yeah, I'm okay if people know that I do this like fully, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. So
nice.
If you follow me, I'll talk about how to be a good dad. I tweet mostly to men, not because of any one reason. A lot of ladies actually like reading my stuff as well. But I definitely write. I consider fathers my peers. Like my wife isn't her role as a mother is not like my peer. I'm making this kind of weird. I don't mean to make it weird, but like, I don't talk to my wife the same way I talk to another dad, right? I don't talk to another mother like I talk to another father, So I talk mostly to guys, but like both women and men seem to like it. But like I said, I talk very much like a guy does, as you guys probably heard on this entire podcast. So
awesome. It's good.
Yeah.
Are your old YouTube videos still around, or did you get rid of them?
I didn't even do much with YouTube. I'm actually really bad at social media. I never really had time to do it. So
those videos are from Twitter then? Just
yeah, and they're all scrap, man. I deleted like everything. I'm like, dude, I'm not even.
Dang.
Yeah. No, a lot of them were funny. Like when I poked the raccoon with the shovel when I was in the garage. That was I actually am really sad that one's gone. But I had like 60,000 tweets, and I wasn't gonna look for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that shit was really funny, dude. I swear this is a direct quote. I said, "Oh man, he doesn't even look mean." And then I tried to nudge him gently with the shovel. He jumped at me. I screamed.
Oh gosh.
So I mean, that
you got a raccoon coming at your face. That makes sense.
Oh my gosh. No, it was scary. This dude. And so the guy gets out of the rafters, right? Gets behind my toolbox. And by the way, me and him both darted. It wasn't like I stayed in place or he stayed in place. Oh, I was mad because he had shit. I had all these plywood boards in my rafters to like store stuff in. He was up there shitting all over my stuff. And so I was a little annoyed by that. So I was like, get out of my garage. You know what I mean? Just like trying to move him along.
Yeah.
And then he I was like, you know. And then here's my legit scream. It's like I go, oh shit, like that's what I sound like, right? So he leaves. I also leave, and now the raccoon is completely gone. I don't know where he is, and all my friends are making fun of me, like in quotes, like he doesn't even look mean, you know, like so. Turns out this raccoon's behind my toolbox in the garage, against the wall. Like he's clinging to the wall, and there's like this little space. I'm like, dude, because I don't want to scream again, right? And I also don't want him in my garage. So I got the shovel back, and I'm like, I'm still videotaping, you know, so that way I can share with my buddies. And I'm like, hey, you know, and it friggin' ignores me like I'm not poking it with a shovel. Like if I ignore him, he'll ignore me. And I start getting annoyed because like he's kind of embarrassing me and shitting on all my stuff. So I kind of, you know, get him, and he leaves. He ends up leaving, you know, just kind of wandering out. He must have called, you know, his brother when I was in the country, because this joker was also in my pole barn. And you remember how I told you about those trenches? How it was a pig?
Yeah.
Right. So it was in the trench, and raccoons are mean, man. And so I was trying to get him out of my pole barn so I could not. I wanted to lock it up, but I didn't want him to lock him in, right, into the pole. I want him to leave. So I was like, all right, well, I don't want to kill him at all, because if I do, he's going to be in the trench, so he's going to rot in a concrete trench with a concrete grid. I'm like, that sounds absolutely terrible. So I take the pellet gun, Old Faithful, and because raccoons are also very quick, I've noticed, after my garage encounter. So I take the rifle, I kind of just put it in the trench, and I like aim for like his butt, and I shoot it. He makes a noise. I jump up on my woodworking bench, right? And by the time I had turned around, he was already gone, and there were just these little paw prints going out.
Nice.
Shut the door. And he lived in an old oak tree on my property. So sometimes when I got called out at night, I'd be driving to work. And I had no problems with this guy, right? He didn't poop on my stuff. So he was on this big oak tree. He'd be like this around the trunk. And as I drove by, he'd shimmy. And
to hide from you?
Yeah. It was great, man. So like I call like everything Frank, like every creature Frank. Like if I don't have a problem, I'm like, hey, what's up, Frank? And he just watches me go by. It was great.
I am Matt DeRozier of Farm Hop Life. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and visit farmhoplife.com.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy. Out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana. Left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started Farm Hop Life. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and